Now to our top story this midday. A city in Burnett County is cleaning up the damage left behind by last night's storm. Terry Gruca is live out in Bertram this morning reporting for us there. Good morning, Terry. What are you seeing?
You know, Ashley, devastation really in this downtown area here in Bertram. This is about 43 miles outside of Austin, just north of Austin. And if you look here across the railroad tracks, you can see these buildings that have just been leveled by, we're not sure yet whether it was straight line winds or whether it was a tornado. Crews have been out here monitoring the situation today, trying to assess the damage and figure this out. But they're also cleaning up. You can see these stone walls that have just collapsed on these buildings. This one building here on the corner that you see right near the light has only been open for a couple of months. I would say probably like 6 months. They opened up a little sandwich and ice cream shop there. They sell t-shirts inside there. And right next door, the A.B. McGill company used to be one of the oldest retailers here in the town of Bertram. And in fact, it was one of the oldest privately owned retail shops in all of Texas before it closed years ago. So there's a lot of history involved in a lot of these buildings. I want to bring in Al Rigvovich. He is a restaurant owner. He actually owns 2 restaurants here in town. He owns Mambo Italian and also Fratelli's Pizza, and has done so much to help this community survive the pandemic this last year, giving away pizzas. Tell me a little bit about the damage, because we're seeing part of your building here behind us.
Yes, it's pretty devastating after all we went through the pandemic. Now with all this tornado, this is a part of my roof, and I see some chairs. They're like 200 yards down. Things are flying everywhere. But the great thing is it's a small community, and already I received 150 phone calls for people that try to help and get us together. And just moving forward, whatever happens. Thank God there was no lives threatened. Nobody's in a serious condition or anything. It's all just the materialistic things, all the buildings and stuff. We're all gonna fix and rebuild that, that's for sure.
I know a lot of folks may not know much about Bertram. It's got about 1,600 people here, but you're one of the major thoroughfares here. 29 comes through here. The train comes through here. A lot of people stop here at the train stop on the train track behind us. There's a lot of history in this little town. That's
correct, what I heard too. This is one of the major towns in 1930s, and later on it was, I heard, almost as big as Austin is. And lately people start moving in here, and the town is getting back to alive, and it's a big attraction. It's a historic town, beautiful little community to be part of. It's just phenomenal to be a resident of Bertram.
You, I know this last year, because we've done some stories with you, you gave away pizzas to people who lost their jobs. People were really hard hit during this pandemic. What do you make of having to go through another hard time? Because I know the ice storm hit you pretty hard too.
As a small community here, we go through hard times, but we all come as one. As I said earlier, it was over 150 phone calls I received this morning. People tried to get together and help us to see how we're going to fix this and how we're going to get through this together. And it wasn't just me giving out pizzas, it was a community that got together who put stuff towards that for me to do that. So it was not just me, it was just whole community getting together, which is the best part of a small town of Bertram.
Al, I appreciate your help, and I know how much you give back to this community and how much you mean, so thanks for being here.
Pleasure, thank you.
Appreciate it. Al did suffer some damage to one of his restaurants. The roof has some major damage, as you can see. This is part of it here, and his restaurant is still about a half mile away from here. So that's how far the roof flew here today. Tori Larned has spent most of the morning out here, and she's going to show you some of the cleanup efforts underway.
With the sun now up, some of the buildings in this small, unique town are now unrecognizable. But I spoke to many people who live in this community who say there's no doubt that everyone will step up to help put the pieces back together. A small town with so much hope is holding on to that after an unwelcome storm destroyed the core of their community.
It's been a lot. We've had a great outpouring of love from this community. We've formed so many bonds with everybody here, and everybody's become family.
Staring at the inside of her business from where a wall used to stand, Amanda Powell is still trying to process what happened.
What's going to happen with the buildings? You know, we've heard that they need to demolish them, push in the fronts to get it out of the roadway.
She opened Bertram Blend and Boutique in 2019 and has already battled the ups and downs of COVID. Now this.
Kind of sit and wait. We don't know what's going to happen now at this point.
As Bertram residents slept in their beds, at least 5 buildings and businesses along Texas Highway 29, which is about an hour outside of Austin, were hit by the storm. Some of them battered to the ground. Earlier this morning, Bertram Police Chief said thankfully nobody was hurt.
We've been pretty lucky.
Meanwhile, as debris lines the streets and roofs lie on the ground, the people in this community rose with the sun to see how they could help.
Everybody comes forward and answers. Everybody comes forward to help. This is a real giving, loving community. That's the nice thing about it.
While crews might not be able to salvage some of these historic buildings, they won't lose the bond that will lift this community back up. Crews have worked throughout the morning to clear the roads. You see this pile of debris behind me? Well, that used to fill the roadway behind it from that building that collapsed. Well, that's just one of their efforts. TxDOT is also working on getting these lights up and running. The biggest obstacle to fully opening Highway 29 here, though, is the unstable buildings along the road. Once they come out and inspect that, the crews here, they will determine when these roads can open again. We'll keep you updated, though, on KVUE.com. For now, I'll send it back to you.
Yeah, and I should update folks on Highway 29. They do have one lane open in both directions now along Highway 29. Still worried about the stability of some of these buildings, but they've tried to keep those lanes of traffic really close to those buildings closed to protect folks from that as they assess some of that. I think Tori touched on it most of all, and that is these small town communities really do come together. And I can tell you there are so many people here in the community that have come out to try to help pick up, clean up. They're bringing water to a lot of the businesses out here. It really is amazing to see how much people have been through in this last year, and they still continue to give. We want to get you updated on the forecast now. It's gorgeous out here right now. Hard to believe we had these severe storms move through. Shane joins us now with a check of our forecast. Shane, I know the crews are out here kind of assessing the damage, trying to determine whether or not this was a a tornado, or straight line winds. It's going to be a little bit before we know that.
That's correct, Terry. So what happens is, even though a storm may happen overnight, we have to wait until the daylight hours before an assessment crew can be sent out. So as you had mentioned, yes, they did send someone out around 9-ish is what the National Weather Service said. So we will continue to monitor all updates from the National Weather Service, and we'll keep you updated online and on air if we get an official confirmation if a tornado touched down.